What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In today's episode, we are moving along on the turbo VHR swap 350Z, and today is a huge component. It is going to be the fuel system that we are installing. I know I mentioned it in the videos prior, but today we are actually getting to work. So I'm going to try my best to show you guys a detailed explanation of everything. There's a couple videos online, but my own opinion is that they don't really go into too much detail on everything. So I'm going to try my best here. Again, I am learning, so take that with a grain of salt, but for the most part it is pretty straightforward. So I'm going to start with the smaller things first. Let's just go ahead first and show you everything that we got. So we got these two smaller lines here, and then we have this, which is the conversion for the fuel top hat to make it a return, so that way you have a return line coming out of the tank and the basket. So that's what that does. Then obviously this big ass line is for the return line, so that's what runs from the tank to the front of the car. That's pretty self-explanatory. One of these lines here is the feed, so it pretty much just taps into the factory connection, so it still retains the factory fuel line from the tank, and then it just converts it to a -6 AN. And then on the other end is where you connect it over to the little sandwich plate or foundation, you want to call it. So this goes where your stock fuel feed would go. As you can see, it does have connections to adapt to a -6, where that fuel line will then tap into this. Then from there, the other line is going to connect to this as well, and then go into the regulator. And then the fuel return line goes to the bottom of the regulator right here. So obviously I'm going to go in more into detail as we start doing it, but I'm going to start small. First things I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go ahead and get all of this set on where it needs to go. We have the little gauge as well, so that's going to go on here as well. And that will go ahead and make sure that everything is dialed in for us on this aspect, and then we'll probably move on to running the return line through the car and then disconnecting the feed and all that kind of stuff. All right, so real quick guys, got all of this installed. I'm trying to figure out how to get this gauge straight, because like my OCD will fucking bother me. But I tightened it in like different ways, like started it backwards, started with it facing this way, facing that way, and trying to tighten it and see. But like right there, it's super snug, and I don't want to go any tighter, it might break it. So I'm trying to figure that out real quick. But I did get the other -6 fitting on here. You have to pay attention, because I've seen some videos where people put this fitting on backwards. There's an O-ring on this other side, and then that's the side that goes into this piece. So that way it's sealed. So that O-ring is sealed up there. And then you'll see this O-ring is sealed up right here as well. So this can pretty much get bolted onto the car right now. I'm just trying to see if I can get this straight. All right, guys. So spoke over to Charles at CJM. He told me to use a little bit of Teflon tape here to get it tight to where the gauge is straight, because it just looks so much better that way. It's supposed to look like that. So yeah, so this is all dialed, we're good there. Now we're moving on to the regulator side of things. So like I've been seeing, the fuel line, the fuel return line comes here, and then one of the sides, I believe it's this side, gets capped, and then this side is going to be where that hose goes from here to the regulator. So I'm just going to start putting all the fittings in here, make sure that they're all locked in and tight, and then we'll move on with probably running the return line. And again, real quick, just to show you guys, this is what I was talking about with the O-ring. So this is the one that this side right here was what screws into the regulator, so that this O-ring is pretty much what causes it to seal. And then you'll have the ends on each side already all connected. And then same thing for the little plug. So you plug it with an Allen key, but this O-ring is what goes inside of the regulator. Let's get it dialed in real quick, and then I'll check back. All right guys, so pretty simple, just obviously connecting the fittings. I made sure they were snug. We got the cap here, so this is pretty much ready to go. This is pretty much ready to go. The Allen head bolts with these washers are what you use to mount this to the car. And then for the regulator, it does come on a bracket. I might make my own bracket off of this one, just since I don't have the secondary firewall anymore. I don't know where I'm gonna mount this yet, but they do include some bolts here with nuts, so you can mount that wherever you want. But yeah, so now I'm gonna probably move underneath the car, try to remove the whole evap system, and run the return line along the bottom of the car. That's gonna be a little bit tedious, but I'll try to walk you guys through as much as possible. All right, guys, moving on to the rear end. Giggity. So I've been wanting to delete the evap for a while now. So since we're doing all this whole process, I took everything apart. I disconnected. There's 3 hoses and 2 clips. So from what I read online and what I've seen, there was another one here that was just simply a breather, and it was connected to the I guess you can call it whatever the fuck, like frame rail, I don't know, whatever. That was up here, just kind of like had like a little clip. So I pulled that out. This is what the clip looks like. It clips into the rail like that, and then it just vents. So you can get rid of that completely. This smaller hose is the hose that runs all the way to the front of the car. So I'm asking a couple buddies who have done this before what process they did, because getting the line off from over there all the way back is pretty easy, but then it goes up and over the tank, and yeah, your boy ain't trying to get that technical with that. So hopefully there's just an easy way to remove it. So I'm waiting to hear back. And then this big one here, you do actually need to put a vent on it, because that is for the gas tank, like fuel vapor or whatever. So what I've seen people do is just cut it. They do put a one-way check valve in it. That one-way check valve is if, God forbid, the car rolls over, it doesn't pour gas out, which I think if the car rolls over, we'll have bigger issues. But regardless, I'm probably going to put a check valve in there and a little breather, like a little filter, just so that way that's all taken care of and safe-ish. So yeah, let's keep moving on. Next thing I'm going to be doing right now is probably going on to the inside of the car and removing the little cover for the fuel tank and running that return fuel line all the way out to the front. All right, guys, so we got the return line fed into the car. A lot of people say to route it this way, like push out the line that way, so that it goes towards like the outside of the car. The only thing that I didn't like about that, and I'll show you, is when we get down here, oh god, it comes out through this side, which, I mean, there's a decent amount of space, giggity, but I didn't like the way that it would run, because it would run right here, and then it would get with the original fuel lines and route along the bottom of the car. So over here, I pushed it up to the front of the tank, which definitely more of a pain in the ass because it's a lot tighter over there. So getting it up and around was kind of a pain, but we got it, and I ran it up that way. And then I was gonna run it into the bracket, but my evap line, it's a pain to delete this whole thing because it goes up and over the tank. So it's not as easy as it seems. So I just cut it and capped it. So I wasn't able to get it to sit flush on the bracket here. So I just moved it out of the way so that nothing's around it, nothing's pressing on it, routed it, and then I was able to jump back in to the original mounting for the original fuel rail or fuel line that was running along the bottom side of the car. So now it'll be tucked up in a way, zip tied up as well with the brackets that they have. And yeah, so we're good here. I'm gonna eat some lunch. Then we're gonna hop back into maybe stuff inside of the engine bay. All right, so starting back underneath the car, as you can see, we have to remove this line right here. So this little clip just comes off, just like that. It just slides off, and that's where you'll see the fitting. So you'll press those two greens and you'll push, and this whole thing will disconnect itself. Before I do that though, I'm gonna get some rags, set some stuff down here in case that starts spewing fuel. Yeah, I don't want to deal with that, so let me get that some rags. All right guys, so we got that OEM fuel feed off. As you can see, I just put a rag here just so any excess fuel will spill there, and then I got some rags down there as well. So I am now going to get the other line that goes to the factory fuel feed. It has a quick little connector. We'll go ahead and connect that. Then we'll connect this as well and have everything at least squared away, and then start running the line from the regulator to here, and then from the end of the tank up to the regulator. All right guys, so when removing the factory feed from the hard line that's on the side of the car there, you use this little green pin. That's what's there from factory, right? You press these and push the line in and then pull it out, and it releases it completely. So on the CJM kit, you convert that factory feed hard line to a -6 AN. But this bottom portion right here unscrews from this. So let me show you real quick. I can't do it with one hand, but let me show you. So as you can see here, that little piece from the bottom unscrewed, and then that unscrews from this -6 fitting. Now, what you're supposed to do is you push the factory feed hard line into here, and this is sitting on top of the factory feed line, and then you screw it on into this so it holds it in place and it doesn't leak. Granted, again, you know me, I've obviously worked on cars before, so I kind of figured it out, but to someone who's a noob or someone who's never done this before, they would probably sit there confused as hell. So let me show you guys how to put this on in the car. It's super easy once I figured it out, and then we can get going on connecting the lines. All right, so you guys get an idea. This is the fitting, right? I just rested there, and then you see that first little like flare, you put that like that. All right guys, so here you have the factory feed. Right when you see this first little flare right here, that's where you're gonna want to mount that little connector from the bottom, and then on the front side you slide in the AN fitting. Oh, it fell, but you'll slide in the AN fitting, screw them together, and that's what holds it from moving or from leaking. So let me get it in there, and then I'll show you guys exactly how it was. All right guys, so there you have it. It's snug on there, it's not coming off, and then there's no leaks because obviously the O-ring inside of there. And now we should be able to connect the -6 AN feed and route it up to the little port on the fuel rail. All right guys, so the feed line is done. We are all tightened up here. Everything is good there. As you guys saw, I put the adapter on to the factory hard line and got that all snug and tightened. And what's nice is like it's all like kind of OEM, so I was able to use that OEM little bracket. I'm obviously gonna zip tie it and put a heat sleeve here as well, just so that all that kind of gets buttoned up. But yeah, it's coming out good. So I got that all set up. The fuel return is ran up here. So yeah, we're making good progress. I am now just gonna try to figure out the regulator and kind of figure out where that's gonna go, and then go from there. So yeah, let's keep pushing. Okay guys, so now we are moving on to the rather harder part of this system. It's not because of the kit itself, it's more just because of my car. So when I did the swap, I cut out the secondary firewall, and that's usually where most people mount the fuel pressure regulator to. So I have to get a little creative, and I was thinking of mounting it kind of offset from the plenum, but somewhere kind of like in this area right here. So hopefully that should work. But now the only thing is the fuel return coming from the tank, it's right here. It's a straight fitting. So now that straight fitting going to the bottom of the regulator, it kind of kinks because since like, you know, the motor's still here, so it would be kind of at a kink. But on one of the regulator lines that goes from the feed to the regulator, they have this little 45-degree joint. So I'm thinking of using that on the bottom of the regulator so that way it puts the fuel return kind of at an angle like this, and then I'm able to mount the regulator right to the intake manifold. I just have to figure out the other line that comes from the feed that goes to the regulator, because it's a straight shot and it's kind of long compared to what I need. So I got to get creative. I'm gonna go to Home Depot, figure out maybe like a bracket or something like that, And then once we get that all mounted up and everything tightened in, we'll go ahead and close the video. I'm gonna do this in 2 parts. So part 1 is gonna be the lines, the feed, all that kind of stuff. And then part 2 is gonna be the tank, the top hat, all that type of stuff. Obviously, I already have a pump installed, so a lot of the steps that you need to do to install a pump, I'm not really gonna go over, but more just the customization of what's needed to go ahead and make it a full return setup. But yeah, that'll be in the next video. So let's get cracking, finish this up, close it out, and yeah. All right, guys, so we are gonna call it for a day here. I went ahead and got everything tight. So we are gonna mount the regulator here on the back of the plenum. I gotta figure out a bracket. I was trying to find some at Home Depot, couldn't really find anything. So maybe I'm gonna have to have somebody fab one up, as stupid as that sounds, but whatever, I'll figure it out. Because essentially, like, I don't want any kinks on the line, so I ran the one from the regulator up underneath the throttle body, so it's all fine, and then it loops back around to the other side of the regulator. So I even switched the inlet on the regulator to the other side, so now the access is over here, and then I cap this side so that way I can mount it here. But like, I can mount it there, but I feel like it puts a lot of strain on that line, so I kind of want something that's offset from here. But yeah, I'll figure that out. All the lines are tight, everything is ran. I got the return at the tank already. So in the next video, I'm gonna modify the top hat, make sure that we get all of that on, and then test it for any leaks. We'll probably unplug the coil packs, take the crank sensor out, and just crank it, see if it builds up fuel pressure, make sure that there's no leaks in the system, and then be done with this. This is just kind of the tedious part because there's a lot of things I got to reroute and just get out of the way and stuff like that. So mainly working on that, which takes time, so it's kind of not fun to record, just more annoying. But we are chugging along. Progress is progress. You know, this type of stuff takes time. Yeah, you can go drop it off a shop, pay a bunch of money, and get it all done and not have to work hard to figure things out, but that's all part of the process, and that's truly why I enjoy cars, is figuring stuff out and modifying them and seeing how things act when you know, put different parts on it, etc., and just figure it out as you go along. So I hope you guys are enjoying the process. As always, thank you for watching. We appreciate all the support. We'll see you in the next one. Peace out.